Welcome back. And the US has had its first ever crypto summit this past week, where leaders from throughout the crypto industry met with the president and the appointed officials. But basically, some of the market is unhappy with this recent crypto summit. In today's video, we're going to be kind of going over the bull indicator or the bullish indicators that have been overlooked here in the market. And we're going to show you some things that occurred during this White House summit that, in my view, are clear bull indicators of what is going on in the global macro picture. Don't get caught up in the short term moves in the market when the macro or the large global overarching theme is that crypto and digital assets are going to be integrated in not only the world of digital finance, but also the world of finance. We also just heard this past week, I think I have this article, hold on. Yeah, here it is right here. It says the OCC, or the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the person that basically in charge of the banks. Their new guidance marks a shift in crypto US bank regulations. This is Treasury Secretary Bessent. He is in charge of the Department of the US Treasury. This is David Sachs, the AI crypto czar. And so, coinciding with this first ever crypto White House summit, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency released a series of interpretive letters signaling a tangible shift in US regulatory attitudes towards digital assets. So, like I said, we're going to be going over all of this in today's video. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you want to help support the channel. Click the join button down below to learn more about becoming a channel member, or you can leave a super chat down below in the comments. As always, thanks for all of the support right here on the Cryptoviser podcast. And so, yeah, there are a lot of bullish signals. And I think the market in the short term has been ignoring these, right? But for years, we've been hearing about the banking system being hostile towards crypto, Operation Choke Point 2.0, debanking of crypto companies. Now, the OCC's latest guidance removes key barriers, enabling banks to engage more freely with digital assets while obtaining robust risk management frameworks. And so I pulled up a few videos from the crypto summit so you guys can understand really what impact and kind of where we are in not only this current cycle of the Bitcoin halving and potentially the bull run, but also the cycle in terms of where digital assets kind of lies in terms of throughout the global ecosystem of crypto. You know, we heard about a lot of founders and a lot of crypto companies that were invited to this crypto summit. And we also heard some founders and crypto companies that weren't invited. Was this negative towards the coin? Was it negative towards the company that wasn't invited, or positive towards the coin, or positive towards the company that was invited? I don't know about that just yet, but I do think it is important to pay attention to which crypto firms were there. Chainlink did have their founder, Sergey Nazarov, over at the basically crypto summit, and he made some comments towards the president about crypto. And let's listen into what he said. Again, Chainlink's Sergey Nazarov. And don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. Let's listen in.
I just want to express my deep gratitude for the seriousness with which you're approaching our industry and how you're actually helping guide it in the right direction. I work with many central banks in other countries, and when I was working there, I was wondering why I, as an American citizen, can't help the United States financial system reach this higher level that the world is on course towards generally. Right. And so I'm very grateful that finally there's been a new level of kind of common sense and adoption of these ideas. Me and the other people in this room do believe that the crypto, blockchain, Web3 infrastructure is the next iteration of the financial system. And I think that the U.S. should have its leadership position continue in that new financial system. And I'm very, very happy to see people like David Sachs, Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick taking this very seriously with their time, and very grateful to them too. So I'm just overjoyed to see this, and I think it is a big part of how the U.S. can continue its role in the global financial system. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought it was very important that we stay in the front of this one. This is a big one.
I just want to...
And I'm guessing he's talking about crypto at the end there. Also in this video, you can see Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple. He was there. I'm not sure if he made comments. Don't know who these two people are. This is Tom Emmer, one of the former Congress people. This is Kelly Loeffler. Now, Kelly Loeffler, seeing her there is very interesting because Kelly Loeffler previously created or was the CEO or one of the executives at BACT, BAKKT, which was going to be kind of like a payment processor that also utilizes cryptocurrencies throughout it. We know a lot about BACT from the previous cycles. Her husband is the CEO of the Intercontinental Exchange, which basically is the New York Stock Exchange. And then you have Howard Lutnick over here, who is the Secretary of Commerce. And by the way, Kelly Loeffler, I believe she's in charge of the Small Business Administration right now. So you have pro crypto Besant, who's the Treasury, pro crypto Lutnick, who's with the Treasury. And by the way, I have comments from all of them coming up. I have videos where I'm gonna show you and prove to you how bullish these people actually are on crypto. Okay, so I just showed you somebody from crypto who's bullish talking at this summit, but I think it's also important to hear directly from what the president himself has to say about crypto because, as you guys know, there's been a huge shift in what we saw in the previous administration with basically Operation Choke Point 2.0, which was basically, take down these crypto companies, make people debank them if they're involved in crypto. And meanwhile, guys, this is a new technology that is literally kind of global, and we're either going to be the winners or the losers at it. And we were on the path to losership. And it seems like we're on the path to winning now under this administration with this crypto summit and seeing all of the supporters very high in the cabinet who appreciate this. Now, this is straight from the president himself. Some of this I'm going to have to kind of cut back and forth because there is music in it. But let's listen to what or how bullish the president is from his own accounts.
Welcome to the first ever White House Digital Assets Summit. Last year, I promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we're taking historic action to deliver on that promise.
Your administration is says your administration is moving. We're going to keep the U.S. dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that. That's what Treasury Secretary Besant said. Lutnick says technology is at the foundation of the Trump presidency.
This is truly a historic day, and as a crypto founder, I couldn't be more proud to be part of your administration.
No one in this room could have envisioned this just a couple years ago.
That was Kelly Loeffler, and then that was Tom Emmer. And so you can see the president is bullish on crypto, right? We've heard him talk about Bitcoin price. We've seen his family talking about crypto. We also know the World Liberty Finance holdings is, millions and millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. And these are all very bullish and kind of indicate where they stand really on the whole world of crypto. And so even though we didn't hear about the government buying Bitcoin, because this is the big thing, Bitcoin reserve, everyone's like, wow, the government's going to buy Bitcoin. And they're not just yet. Maybe in the future they will, but they're not just yet. But people are not happy about that. People are like, well, we should be at $150,000, but the U.S. government doesn't want to buy Bitcoin, so we can't go to $150,000. Now we have to go back down to $80,000, maybe $70,000. Here's the deal, guys. Everything I'm about to show you should make you extremely bullish on the crypto world, especially in 2025, 2026. And we're going to be starting that right here with David Sachs. Now, this was after the announcement from President Trump about he wants Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, XRP, and ADA. And so there was a lot of conversation about whether XRP is going to be involved in the reserve, Cardano, or Solana. Now, we know that as of this point, there's going to be a strategic Bitcoin reserve and then a crypto asset reserve, or stockpile, where Bitcoin and Ether are, it seems like, are going to be considered a little bit different from these altcoins. But that doesn't stop the fact that, XRP, people were kind of hoping that we were going to see something. You can see that in the 7-day chart. XRP is up 10%, Cardano is up 30%, where meanwhile Bitcoin and Ether are up less than 2% on the week. So there was a lot of excitement and expectations that we were going to see Cardano, Solana, and XRP in the strategic reserve. But David Sachs kind of, brought an umbrella to a rainy day, I guess you can say. Let's listen to what he says specifically about these altcoins that were chosen. And I want you also to keep in mind the narrative that pretty much none of the mainstream channels were saying Cardano. They would say XRP, they would say Solana, and then they'd say other altcoins. And I believe they did this in Bloomberg as well. Let's listen in.
Of the American people.
Just going into what's in the holding of the US government, going back to what President Trump mentioned over the weekend, talking of Ripple, Solana, other alternative coins, that people are wondering whether they're going to be included in this stockpile. Will they? Does the US own them? Why mention them by the president?
Well, the president just mentioned the top 5 cryptocurrencies by market cap. So I think people are just reading into this a little bit too much. He just mentioned the top 5. In terms of what we'll actually have, again, we have to do the accounting. We're not sure, sitting here today, whether the federal government owns any of these alternative cryptocurrencies. We know it owns Bitcoin. I believe it owns some Ethereum. I'm not sure about the other ones. This is why we have to do the accounting, is that, to be honest, no one's been able to give us a straight answer yet in terms of what the federal government owns. And this is part of the problem, is that we've never really had a digital asset strategy before. And this is why we've, missed out on accumulating a lot of value for the American people.
So you heard from David himself. He thinks that people are reading way too much into this. And I would agree. I remind you guys that David Sachs has said their first order of business is stablecoin legislation, which we have not even gotten past. This other stuff is, moving the coins that the government has into these pots or reserves or stockpiles, whatever you want to call them. And then later down the road, we can see and talk about accumulation of more of these assets. But that doesn't mean that the speculation is not going to continue. And again, I have warned about this since the bear market. I said to you guys, in this bull market, there's going to be a lot of coins. There's going to be a lot of promises. There's going to be a lot of companies and individuals that say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I mean, you can even see it even in the Bitcoin realm. You have Michael Saylor saying, oh, there's going to be tons of companies that are going to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. No, not a lot of companies, almost no companies have done it. Why? In my view, they are waiting to see what happens, right? I mean, maybe that's not the best investment strategy, but this is what I think is going on. They are waiting to see what happens, because MicroStrategy is really the only company in the history of the markets to take out this much debt, $40 billion or $30 billion worth of debt, pretty much on their own company, and then buying Bitcoin with it. And we don't know, nobody knows really where that's going to kind of end up in a bull market, in a bear market, in volatile markets. Will there be margin calls? Will there be calls for that debt? I don't know. I mean, people say yes, people say no. Michael Saylor says nothing, don't worry about anything, basically. But no other company has followed that strategy yet. So we have to keep in mind, right, that we're going to go back to fundamentals. Which crypto assets have the fundamentals, which are being used by companies, countries, banks around the world? I mean, if you look at those coins that were just spoken about, by the way, people were criticizing David Sachs, saying, well, Cardano's not even a top 5 coin, XRP's not, or Solana's not a top 5 coin. I mean, if you take out Tether, which is a stable coin, you take out BNB, it's not going to be part of any stockpile. And then you take out USDC and Dogecoin, yeah, Cardano is basically in the top 5, Solana's in the top 5, XRP's in the top 5. And this brings up the conversation. Well, what about the other coins? Who's going to determine whether these are or are not should be part of the stockpile? Then there was conversation about, well, the coins that are, quote, made in America. None of these coins are really made in America. I mean, Solana was launched by FTX, which is not based in the US. Cardano was ICO'd in Japan. I mean, IO Global used to be called IOHK, IO Hong Kong. And XRP, I would say really XRP is the only coin that probably was born in the United States, although it's really used outside of the United States, right? And all these other payment corridors that Ripple has set up around the world. But in either way, that's neither here nor there. Moving right along, we also heard from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick as well. Now, keep in mind, Howard Lutnick, I believe that he is a multi-billionaire, part of multi-billion-dollar businesses and funds. But this is interesting. This was posted in February on Anthony Pompliano's channel, where they're basically talking about Bitcoin, right? And again, this is the Commerce Secretary. I want you to hear in this conversation. This is about his own holdings, right? This is his own investments, how bullish we really should be. Let's listen in.
Either you or Cantor.
I don't have a big enough percentage. I probably have, if, no, I can't say it because then people can figure out the number and how much I have. I would say I have hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay.
Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars exposure to Bitcoin.
Let's pause right there. He said hundreds of millions of dollars exposure to Bitcoin. Now, keep in mind, he is, I believe, the director, some high up executive in Cantor Fitzgerald, which is kind of like an investment fund as well. But hundreds of millions of dollars in crypto. I think that's where we're at, guys. We're no longer in the millions of dollars, the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, we're in the hundreds of millions of dollars of crypto exposure directly owned by billionaires. You know, I keep putting in the titles or the thumbnails of my videos. The billionaires are buying, the billionaires are buying, the billionaires are buying. They are. I mean, they already have as well. Let's continue listening.
And it will be billions.
I was going to say, so next year when you come back and we'll do this again and you'll be a Bitcoin billionaire and
yeah, but you remember that model I told you? So if every time Bitcoin dips, I'm going to be the buyer. Right?
Trust me, I know why you're doing the lending. Listen, you don't have to explain that one around here.
So I got the 50% Bitcoin, I got the Bitcoin lending, but basically what you're going to see is Cantor Fitzgerald is going to be the sponsor of Bitcoin into traditional finance.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will be the leader of it. And I'll pull out this podcast in years to come and say, see, I told you, because no one's going to remember.
Of course.
Right? But all the banks, after we do it and show people how to do it right, they'll all copy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the asset of Bitcoin will just, as it becomes more accepted, it will become more valuable. And the whole Bitcoin nation should just call it a commodity, never a currency.
Mm-hmm.
Just call it a commodity. Because if it's a currency, you're attacking the politicians of the country, right? You're trying to replace my currency with yours.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, hey, I'm just oil, I'm just gold, I'm just a commodity, leave me be, right? Then they'll leave you be.
Now I'm going to pause right there. There's more to this. But again, this is the Commerce Secretary for the United States talking about, number one, buying the dip. Number two, his firm becoming the standard for, integrating crypto into finance. And again, maybe Cantor Fitzgerald will not be, right? But he's saying they're going to do it. Fidelity says and is doing it already. And then you have the likes of JP Morgan and Bank of America that are like, no, we do not like crypto. This is not a real coin. There's nothing to it. And meanwhile, they're literally being left behind because World Liberty Finance, Cantor Fitzgerald, they're already firms that are doing it, right? They're already doing it. They're already transitioning. And we've even heard I think it was Eric Trump say that traditional finance that is not integrating crypto is going to be left behind. So you have all these firms that are working in the administration, that are working to get clarity, that want to get clarity, that want to integrate this, that own these coins, that own the technology, right? And people, by the way, people are, saying, oh, well, David Sachs, he owns crypto. False. He said he's sold everything. But even these other players here saying that they shouldn't own it. It's like, that's like saying that you should not be part of making laws about housing if you own a house, because you're going to want the house laws to be good for you, right? Or the property tax laws to be good for you. Yeah, people who own assets want the same thing, right? And so we know that we have people in the administration, in the top levels, that are very pro-crypto, that want this integrated, that want this to be moved forward. And I believe it's going to be much harder for people to be anti-crypto move forward. Because again, the boomer generation, like, they're aging out. They are aging out. And so the younger generation is really, and I'm not saying just younger than boomer, which is pretty much everybody else, right? These people are investing in crypto, and these people are going to make the determining factors on what happens in the future. And, it's either you want to make money or you don't. I've talked to people who are like, yeah, but, I'm not really sure about, if I should buy Bitcoin because is it going to go up? I'm like, you don't even understand the fundamentals. Because if you understand the fundamentals, yes, the price is going to continue to go up throughout the course of time because of the supply dynamics and it being priced in the dollar. Keep in mind, Trump is using this. He wants the dollar to be the dominant reserve asset. This is why they're pushing the stablecoin legislation to make sure the dollar stays the reserve asset. But also, pricing the coins in dollars is going to also, because would you rather have $1 million priced Bitcoin in dollars, or it to be priced in, you'll be I don't know, 15 quadrillionaire in Zimbabwe. You know what I mean? I mean, it's pretty clear you want it to be priced in dollars. So this is big, guys, to hear from the Commerce Secretary. What else are we going to see crypto maybe be used for? Maybe cross-border payments, maybe for international trade, where the banks traditionally are. They traditionally use Swift. Well, maybe they'll start using cryptos, and maybe there'll be a crypto tax on that. And that tax will go into the national strategic stockpile. I mean, there's so many different ideas out there. It's just, again, is this bullish or bearish to you? I mean, I don't know anybody who could look at Howard Lutnick and say, yeah, this guy's bearish on Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't think this is going to, he's just the Commerce Secretary. Who cares? It's like, do you think, like, he just said that he's probably going to be a billionaire from his millions in crypto holdings, and you're not bullish on it? I mean, hello. Anyway, let's continue listening to what he says.
And that is true. And it will be why Bitcoin, which is rare and is special, will become ever more rare, as we both know, ever more valuable over time. It'll be financed just like gold is, right? Gold is, it's not like super financeable, but it's financeable. Oil, it's not super financeable, but it's financeable, right? Bitcoin will be financeable. Bitcoin will be way, way, way higher, sometimes lower. You just have to have faith.
And understand the dynamics. I mean, for real. Moving right along to the Treasury Secretary Bessent, he's actually insanely bullish and indicates they are relatively serious about actually buying more Bitcoin. Now, remember, in the presidential order, it creates a national strategic stockpile of Bitcoin, but it does not allow any purchasing that would basically affect the taxpayer, meaning the government cannot buy Bitcoin if it's going to tax you and I, right, the taxpayer. But there's other ways that they can actually, especially the Treasury, that they can buy without directly affecting the taxpayer. I mean, guys, we saw this happen during the previous administration. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, I mean, that was rough. That was very rough to see how they managed money and managed where the money would flow to. But anyway, let's listen to what he says here on CNBC to this panel. And by the way, this reporter from CNBC, he went from I don't believe in crypto to I'm a Bitcoin basically maxi, it seems. Anyway, let's listen to what they talk about in this clip. And by the way, I'm playing it at 1.25 just because otherwise it's way too slow and boring. Anyway, let's listen in. This is the beginning of March on CNBC.
Disappointment that we're not going to be buying Bitcoin reserve. Supposedly there is disappointment that we're not going to be buying Bitcoin outright using taxpayer dollars. But if we can do it in a revenue neutral way, we would. Number one, were you a proponent for the reserve? And two, is there a way to buy Bitcoin, not just acquire it through, I don't know, however we've gotten these $17 billion worth at this point?
Yeah, so Joe, I am a big proponent of the U.S. taking the worldwide lead in crypto. I think we have to bring it onshore and they use our best practices and regulation. I think that the Bitcoin reserve, before you can accumulate it, you have to stop selling it. So what we have now is from a seized asset pool, and I wasn't there when it happened, but I believe what happened was about 500 million of Bitcoin was seized, half of it was sold, and what we have now that, say it's over 10 billion, 10, 12 billion, that's all through appreciation. So the first thing to do is to stop the selling. So we are going to, after the victims are paid and all of that, any seized assets will go into this reserve, and then we'll see what the way forward is for more acquisitions for the reserves. And we're starting with Bitcoin, but it's an overall crypto reserve.
Right. So how do you think about buying, though? And how should taxpayers think about that? Because effectively we'll be levering ourselves to some degree, given that we don't have a surplus of money right now, to make these investments.
Yeah, so that's why the first step is to stop selling, and then we're going to put a plan in place from there. So we're having this crypto summit. I'm going back to Washington.
So you can see they are really thinking about this in a staged approach or phased approach, right? again, they need to get stablecoin legislation. They need to get the regulatory agencies in line in terms of what does the SEC oversee? What does the CFTC oversee? And is there any other laws that or agencies that need to be created for crypto? Maybe a crypto agency or something like that. I don't know how exactly it's going to go, but they're thinking about this phased approach. And once we get stable coins and stable coins are kind of integrated, then they will probably look at other things. I mean, the Treasury has basically the keys to the castle. I mean, they work in line with the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is the ones that print the money, but they can't print the money if the government doesn't need the money. So how do they actually get the money? How does the Treasury get the money? Treasury issues bonds. Treasury issues treasuries. That's why they're called treasuries, right? So the Treasury issues the Treasury, basically an IOU to the Federal Reserve. They hand it to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve prints the money, hands it to the Treasury, and then the Treasury does what they need with it. And so understanding where Lutnick stands on this, where the president stands on this, where David Sachs stands on this, right? They're making it a very even-keeled approach, right? Very calm, cool, collected. We have everything under control. Everything's going to go perfectly fine. But at some point in the future, they're going to drop that hammer like, nope, we're going to start buying crypto. Nope, we have a surplus now. We're going to start taking some of that extra money and putting it into crypto. And then, I mean, everybody keeps talking about Social Security and saving money and all of this, right? Maybe we take the Social Security funds that are coming in now, and instead of making it this big Ponzi, we actually, invest in the future. I mean, this was the idea behind pensions, was that you invest now, your company invests in you now, and then they put it in pension funds, and then the funds invest in other things. I mean, we've heard about, FTX. Who was buying into FTX? Retirement systems, teachers' retirement systems. It was berserk, right? Absolutely berserk. But now there's, I would say, much safer regulated products that these retirement systems can invest in. The Bitcoin ETFs, the Ethereum ETFs, MicroStrategy, if they like, companies like that, or Coinbase, the ones actually, facilitating the trades. And so there's so many different arenas. And by the way, we're going to be going to Brian Armstrong because he has some comments as well in a few minutes. But before we go there, here are some other comments that I thought were important from David Sachs, because I do think that it's important, again, to kind of circle back to the fundamentals of what these people believe about crypto and, why we should be looking at crypto for or Bitcoin specifically, or maybe not Bitcoin specifically, because the conversation has also been, there's so many conversations. One, why isn't the US buying crypto? Why are they not buying Bitcoin in the reserve? Two is, why are they putting these other coins in? Or, they didn't add enough coins to the list that they should be adding. And then we go back to, should we just be Bitcoin only? Well, the conversation, when we're talking about a global scale and a currency or commodity that's global, similar to gold, no intermediary, no controlling authority, no founder who's, marketing for the project. And David Sachs on his All In podcast, I'm sure most of you guys have seen it with Chamath and some of the other billionaires. They talked about, what Bitcoin is and why Bitcoin is special compared to these other currencies. And I think this is important. It's not saying that the other currencies are not important to the US, but this is saying that Bitcoin is the most important to the US right now. It's the same thing like, if you think about the US companies, right? I would say Ford, Tesla, right? These companies are important to the US, whether people like the founders or not, right? These are US-based companies that have created the technologies for, these vehicles, for people to use these vehicles around the world. Anyway, so when we're talking about Bitcoin, it's not saying that the other coins are not important at all, but it's saying that Bitcoin is the key. Let's listen to what David says, the AI crypto czar for the US.
And I can get into the reasons
explain why. That's a great thing, yeah.
Well,
Explain why.
Bitcoin's the original cryptocurrency. It's the first one. It's the only one that doesn't have an issuer, right? It's very decentralized. It's, in crypto, they call this the Immaculate Conception. We don't really know how it got here. We don't know who Satoshi is. It's almost mystical, you would say.
Yes.
It's the most valuable one. It has a $2 trillion market cap, and it's the most secure. It's never been hacked, right? So we're now, over 15 years into this journey, and there's been a lot of people who've been skeptical along the way, and there's been a lot of ups and downs, but here it is. I mean, I remember back in 2011, I think it's the first time I bought a Bitcoin. I think it was at $120. Now it's at $90,000. Again, there've been all sorts of wild swings along the way, but this thing just keeps chugging along. And you can think of that $2 trillion market cap as like a $2 trillion bug bounty. If there was a way to hack this, there's every incentive in the world. And by hack, I mean like to double spend, create basically a counterfeit Bitcoin, I guess would be the way for people to think about it. And
it
so the
is
security,
a miracle it hasn't been compromised. I think we can all say that.
well, I don't know if it's a miracle. I think it's exceptional design.
Sure.
And so I think what you could say is that it's been tested in a very robust way, and there's been every incentive to basically break the encryption, and it continues to chug along. And so
the actual idea that Bitcoin hasn't been hacked, that is the security mechanism baked in right there. Because like David just said, you have every incentive to actually break into the network, and nobody has been able to do that. And so this kind of goes into integrating everything with crypto, right? With digital assets. Jeremy Allaire just posted this response to what we covered earlier in the video about the OCC changing their stance on crypto. He said, banks using USDC coming soon to a blockchain near you. We're excited about wiring up the existing financial system to the new internet financial system. Circle's Mint is open for business. And that was in response to the OCC reaffirming that crypto asset custody, holding deposits that serve as reserves, backing stablecoins, and the distributed ledger technology and stablecoins to facilitate permissionless payments activities are permissible in the federal banking system. Effectively saying, like, JP Morgan can hold the dollars that back the stablecoins of Circle, right, of USDC. And that creates that security, again, going back to strengthening the dollar, right? Making sure that the dollar maintains its role in global currency, especially if people are going to start using these stable coins around the world to transact. And that brings us to Coinbase. And keep in mind, Coinbase considers and has considered USDC and the dollar equal on their platform for the last few years. So sometimes they don't even ask you if you want to use dollars or USDC because they consider it the same exact thing. And so Brian Armstrong posted a short clip video that I'll play for you from the Digital Asset Summit at the White House, the Crypto Summit at the White House. He says, thanks to the president's leadership, along with David Sachs, the U.S. has now a strategic Bitcoin reserve and emerging regulatory clarity. This is directly translating to economic growth in the U.S. For instance, Coinbase plans to hire about 1,000 employees in the U.S. this year as a result of this renewed growth. Now, the previous cycle, I told my viewers, I said, there will be a future where the presidential election is based on crypto. I just didn't expect it to happen this fast. Right. And I think the big part of the reason that it happened so fast is because the president's team identified that the crypto world, like if you own crypto, why would you vote against your best interest? Right. And I'm not talking about Bitcoin maxis. I'm talking about you guys, everyday people. Right. And I don't know who you voted for, and it doesn't really matter who you voted for. Right. But I would say the majority of people who are investing in something. It's like if you're a homeowner and you have one president that's like, we're going to eliminate property taxes because if you are paying for your house, you already pay taxes on that. And you're paying taxes when you go to the grocery store, you're paying tax on the electricity, you're paying tax on the sewer and the water. So why are we going to have property tax on top of that? We're going to eliminate it. Why would any homeowner in their right mind vote for the person who's not for eliminating property taxes, right? It's voting outside of your interests. Even if some of the other policies and things just don't make sense. I mean, I feel like a lot of people would just vote based on the property taxes being eliminated, right? And so I think that they saw just kind of this opening like, well, crypto, there's money involved, so people are incentivized. And you have the administration that is completely anti-crypto for whatever reasons, and it was a good strategy, right? It was a really good strategy. I think, like I said in previous videos, I think, generally speaking, a lot of the tech bros or the nerds who are coding blockchain, generally speaking, I think they're more on the, think about it. The people who live in California or Seattle or New York or Chicago, right? These are major tech hubs. But what we've seen is these major tech hubs have been starting to move to Texas, Florida, and places like that. And so the demographics are changing, and the needs and wants of people are changing. And fighting crypto, I mean, they're still fighting crypto. And instead of looking at a strategic Bitcoin reserve as a positive thing, the response that I've seen is like, "Whoa, this is a huge red flag." And it's like, you can't win this way, right? Majority of Americans, I just did a separate video on Coinbase. Coinbase is making like $600 million from their Coinbase One offering, which is $30 a month. So if you do the math, I mean, let's do the math on it. I think it was $600 million, right? And per year, it's about, let's just say $300, right? It's about $20 or $30 a month, 12 months of the year. Let's just say $300. That means they have 2 million people, approximately, who are part of Coinbase One, who are paying for Coinbase One benefits, including insurance, protection, lowered fees, and all of that. And also to support Coinbase. That's a lot of people that are just signed up for this program. Think about all the other people on Robinhood, on Binance, on Gemini, on Kraken, on all these other exchanges and all the other places that you can own and transact in crypto. How many other people actually own it? It's a large portion. And so this whole anti-crypto thing, it's a losing strategy. Anyway, let's listen to what Brian has said about the crypto summit this past week.
Brian Armstrong, Coinbase CEO here. The West Wing is right behind me. We just left the Digital Asset Summit at the White House. It was an incredible event, really a historic moment for our industry, and President Trump has breathed life back into the crypto industry. Coinbase is planning to hire about 1,000 people here in the United States this year as a direct result of his actions already in the first 60 days or so. So these policies really matter, and this is the most pro-crypto Congress we've ever seen as well. All of you all out there helped elect pro-crypto candidates with StandWithCrypto.org, and Fairshake, the super PAC out there, played a big role as well. So we're going to keep showing up, trying to be an educational resource, and see if we can get some legislation passed as a next step. There's already stablecoin legislation being drafted in the House and the Senate. There's a market structure legislation that'll help clarify which of these crypto assets are commodities, securities, payment tokens, or something else like artwork. And then I think we should get the strategic Bitcoin reserve that got announced last night codified into law too. So we're hoping Congress can work on that. Anyway, all of us can help as an industry to help show up and just appreciate President Trump's leadership here. I think the rest of the G20 are looking at America now on offense in this industry, and will be likely to follow suit.
So there you guys have it, directly from Brian Armstrong himself. Listen, guys, a lot is happening in crypto. I understand the sentiment of unhappiness, but remember, guys, a lot of these things are priced in ahead of time. So even if they did say, the US would buy some Bitcoin, it was already priced in. That's why the market dropped after that announcement that they weren't buying new Bitcoin, at least not yet. Once we have stablecoin legislation, once we hear about banks, kind of opening their doors to crypto, and probably a lot of it is going to be kind of digital financial banks first. But again, we're going to see the rollover, and we're going to see all it takes is 1 or 2 days, and the market can completely turn around from where it was. I believe what we just looked at in this video, understanding where the president stands, where his cabinet stands on crypto, to see all the pro-crypto people at the White House summit, all of the companies and organizations and leaders in the US who are behind crypto, guys, this is accelerating much faster than most people think. And I think that these are the most bullish indicators that we've seen in a very, very long time. The market may not have been reacted yet, but remember, the general economy is still kind of uncertain. The general markets are still kind of uncertain. But if you're not bullish, after what we went over today, I don't know what will make you bullish. I mean, this is the most bullish week, I think, in crypto history. So I'd love to hear what you guys think down below in the comments of this video. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We upload as much as possible to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Nothing I say is financial advice, just my thoughts and opinions. We can agree to disagree. I'll see you when I see you, and crypto on.